Many thanks there to Mauricio Pochettino. As promised, I have to ask Danny, and you've had plenty of time to think about it, how is he in the dressing room after a loss?
He doesn't say anything. Even when we'd win, the most you'd get out of him in the dressing room after a win is just he'd shake your hand and that'd be it. And he's the exact same after a loss. He doesn't analyse the game straight away because he feels that everyone's emotional, especially after you lose. So it would be down to the senior players within the dressing room if they want to say something. But it won't be until, the next back in training he'll do a group meeting and analyse, goals and whatnot. And then throughout the week he'll be calling individuals into his office and he'll have all the clips from the games and training and say, look, you did this wrong or you did this right, and we're going to look to put that right.
So often I've interviewed former players and there's one common thread across every single player. All they want is honesty from a manager. Is he the type to be brutally honest with you? Yeah, he is. I have to admit, he is, and he was the first manager that I'd played under where they've not said anything after a game. Sometimes it's nice because you might have had a stinker and you don't want to get embarrassed in front of everybody, but it took a while to get used to it. But after a while, he calls you into his office, just you and him, and he analyses everything, warm-ups, everything, gym sessions, and he breaks it down. And then moving forward, you know exactly what he wants from you and what he wants you to continue doing. Is he fired up at half-time now? Honestly, in the 6 years that I've played under him, I can say just on one hand, there's only been a handful of times that he's actually lost it at half-time. Otherwise, he's cool, calm, collected, and says, "This is what we need to do. This is not good enough," and that's it. Cool heads prevail, Scott.
Cool, clever heads prevail, and he's clever. He's a very good football coach. He's an intelligent man. He's very good at man management, and I think he's right. We're 2 games in. There's no point in looking at the table at the moment. We're 2 games in. The process, the performances, how have the performances been? And up until, funny enough, Aged got sent off, I think it was very good for 1 game and another 2/3. The one thing I would pick up on, I wouldn't necessarily put Chukwuemeka coming off and the system changing into one, because there was 15 minutes of the second half where Chukwuemeka came off at half time. The system was changed on 60 minutes when Caicedo came on. They were on top, Chelsea, then, even though they conceded the goal, was still the better of the 2 sides. So I'm surprised really that he's actually done that. I'm surprised that Ben Chilwell came off, but he makes the decisions, he sees what he sees, and he's someone who I believe will get Chelsea up there. Will he win Premier League titles? We'll have to wait and see, because that's a big step to get to Manchester City. But he is the right man for Chelsea. There's a little bit of an injury list now forming at Chelsea. No idea about Chukwuemeka, how fast he's going to recover and so forth, but Badiashile, Bettinelli, Broja, Chalobah, Wesley Fofana and Nkunku, they're all out right now. We can add another name to the list. Is that a bit of concern? Is this so early on in the season? Yeah, well, having any injuries throughout the season is not nice, and especially now having such a big list from what you've read out there, it's not ideal for him. Because from working with him, I know that he loves and values training just as much as match day, and he'd want all the players out there, and so we could get his points across. Obviously, it's thankfully for him they're not in Europe, so he'll have Monday to Friday to get his tactics across from now until the end of the season. But I wouldn't say it's time for concern, because for 60 minutes today, I don't think we would have even mentioned that injury list, because there was that good and dominant. And even last week, for a half, there was that good and dominant again. So I don't think it's anything to worry about at the moment, but it's not ideal for him. I don't think we can start complaining about injuries of Chelsea and numbers.
No. I was about to say, because of the
numbers. Saying there's about 100,000, at the end of last season in the Chelsea squad. So it is what it is. And some of those players you've mentioned, I don't think would get into the first team anyway. Some of them would, but then, for example, Disasi's come in at centre-back. They're playing 3 at the back, and if he was really worried about centre-halves with Badiashile and Fofana, then he'd just play 2 centre-halves, but he's playing 3. So I think the numbers are okay, I really do. Chukwuemeka is a problem because I think he had a really good pre-season and was really doing well in that position alongside Raheem Sterling, the two number 10s. So that is an issue, but I don't think in terms of numbers is a massive problem for Chelsea. You have to deal with it, and they do have still one of the biggest squads in the Premier League.
Yeah, and before we move on, thinking back when he was at Spurs, there weren't too many injuries, were there? Was that something which Pochettino focused on at the training ground to try to do work which is injury preventive? I'm not an expert, obviously.
Yeah, no, you bang on there with that question, and you're right. He's massive on gym work. As I said, he values gym just as important as training and match days, and he has a very unique way of working. And hopefully he'll be able to implement that while at Chelsea, because it was and is very beneficial with how he wants to play in terms of high pressing, 1v1 duels, 2v2 duels, and the gym work complements that. So hopefully, if me knowing him, he would have transformed Chelsea's gym before he even got there, and had all the equipment waiting for him.
I don't want to ask, but you had a few managers in your time. Is it unusual for a manager to encourage gym work?
For me, yeah. From the managers that I've had, I've had the old school managers in Harry Redknapp, Martin O'Neill, and the younger managers in AVB who didn't want players in the gym. Jose, he wasn't too fussed with players going in the gym, so he is the first manager that I've had, and only manager where he wants you in the gym at least minimum one day a week, doing the work. And even after the games, we used to carry a portable gym around with us, and if it's raining out on the pitch, he didn't care. You go and do the gym session while everybody's in the shower and stuff, and that's how important he values the gym.
Never skip leg day, right? Ever?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
All right. Is this unusual for you, Scott, with your managers? Gym work?
I think towards the end of my career, gym work would come in, absolutely, and we'd do it, almost before we'd go out for training, and we'd do it 2 or 3 times a week. It certainly happened at West Ham for me. So I don't think it's necessarily unusual, but it's all sort of dynamic stuff. It's not just, lifting weights and doing it slowly and trying to build muscles. Yeah. It's functional. It's kind of like for the fast fibre, making sure that everything's powerful, everything's quick, everything's off the mark. So as long as it's done in that way, absolutely, it's right. Used to get a few, like I don't mind mentioning Don Hutchinson would come in sort of in March, and we know the end of the season's coming. We want to get a beach body on, so you can give him a bit of stick when he comes in next. But no, I mean it's all about being functional. And nowadays, Adam, you can't skip. You can't skip. You get found out on the pitch. Everyone's so fit and athletic nowadays. You have to be bang on it in training as well as matches.